All right, everyone. As the Uniparty sours on Ron DeSantis and as his campaign begins to lose control, I think, of the narrative, he's stabilized now. He's no longer hemorrhaging support, but he's averaging out at about 14 points. That's just barely within the realm of viability, especially for a candidate that was riding at one point in the mid to upper 30s. That doesn't look good, and therefore people are less likely to invest in your campaign because a lot of them are like, I'm making a long shot bet that Trump dies or is prevented from running or something like that, and so they're basically placing bets on the other candidates in hopes that Trump keels or something. Nikki Haley is now the flavor of the month. She is the Kamala Harris of this cycle. Let me explain. The Uniparty, as some of them, a number of investors, have flocked to Nikki Haley after the first GOP debate. And that's because she had a Kamala Harris moment. She had an unexpectedly good debate performance, partially because some of her opponents didn't seem to be completely adequately prepared. Christie and Ramaswamy were too busy hitting each other. Mike Pence at this point, he just doesn't have it and people know it. Ron DeSantis was less visible, and Tim Scott to an even greater degree on the debate stage than they ought to have been. And so, and then you have like Asa Hutchinson and what's his name there, Burgum, I think. Nobody cares about them. Nikki Haley, therefore, is the one rising right now. She's now ahead of Mike Pence. Mike Pence, by the way, at one point considered reasonably viable, is now in 5th place. He got jumped by Ramaswamy first, and Ramaswamy's still ahead of him, and then by Nikki Haley. But the only reason that Nikki Haley is currently riding at about 6 points and has considerably grown her share of the vote in the primary polling is because of one debate performance. What's the problem? Firstly, doesn't mean hard support. It means people that are casting around and trying to find anyone other than Trump. A bunch of them have decided that maybe she's their gal because, well, she was well-spoken and stuff. Here's the problem. There are more GOP debates. So unless you expect her to have a perfect performance every time, and she'll be judged against her good performance in the first debate, she'll lose that support. Look to the second debate to find out whether Nikki Haley has any staying power whatsoever. Like as not, other people will have spit-shined their image a bit. The debate stage might have a different composition. Somebody who qualified before may not this time. Elder might be in. He might be out. We don't know exactly what happens. We know that I think 3 of them have already qualified other than Trump who won't show up. And those are DeSantis, Ramaswamy, and Pence. Haley, I believe, at this point would be on the stage too. We'll see about that. I mean, Chris Christie could crash to 1 point or something like that and not even get a chance to bellow incoherently. Be a sad night for him if he doesn't get on the debate stage. He'd be a very, very morose individual. Nikki Haley, though, she has another problem. She is a long-term war hawk neocon. She worked for Trump, which means that the real TDS sufferers they're not fully sold on her. But she's also a unipartyist with a pro-war message mainly. You look at her statements about Ukraine and Israel and so forth, it's pretty telling. And that's really what the GOP debate devolved into. If anything, Donald Trump's absence on that debate stage simply showed the American public generally and Republican public in more detail, because they're more likely to be the ones watching a GOP debate, other than hate watching it, not changing their minds, only solidifying themselves in their liberal echo chamber. Those individuals got to see the Republican Party minus MAGA, basically. And so you have the somewhat non-charismatic front-runner of the also-rans. You got DeSantis. You've got the dynastic dude who doesn't even want to discuss the presidency that he served in, which is Mike Pence. You have the quirky dude who's kind of fun but also kind of goes off, which is Ramaswamy, sort of the knockoff version of Trump in those moments. You know, trying to get a Twitter hashtag to the top or something like that. A very, very tech candidate more than anything else. Ramaswamy is. You've got the dedicated warmonger / evangelical, which is Haley. And then you have the neocon / business tycoon style like Republican, sort of like a Buchanan Republican or something like that, which is Christie. That's it. That's your field. And then Tim Scott does the evangelical thing exclusively, but he might not even make the stage. Nobody cares about the others that were there. Asa Hutchinson gets to talk for a couple minutes. Highlight of his political career. Nikki Haley, in my opinion, will not stay at 6 points. She'll rise a little bit further, probably, actually, over the next couple of weeks. When the next debate hits, again, unless she happens to really shine and be the only person who's coherent up on stage, That's unlikely to continue as a trend. She might hit 7 or 8 points here. Well, it puts her in Ramaswamy territory. They're battling it out for third place as we speak. Mike Pence used to be doing that. Now he's in 5th. He's at risk of collapsing down the field to the point where he no longer has any monetary support, with a top-heavy campaign requiring a decent amount of monetary support. The shakeup has been not as wild, though, as 2016 or 2020. In past primaries, you've seen the same thing that you're seeing here. Somebody does or says something particularly stupid and drops like a rock, or they do or say something particularly well and they suddenly rise up because the front runner always has people that are dead set against them. Those voters, which comprise, I would say, the TDS sufferers in general, 25% of the Republican Party. Some of the lack in Trump support, because he's riding in the mid-50s right now, isn't people who wouldn't vote for him, isn't people that have real TDS. It's just people that prefer another candidate for topical reasons. So you'd say, like, I prefer Ron DeSantis due to age. That's a big one. I prefer Ramaswamy because he's also self-funded, but he doesn't have the baggage, or something like that. Not TDS, it's just they have a preference in the other direction. Nikki Haley is doing the same thing that happened over and over again with other candidates, especially in election races where you've got a front runner who is not well liked. We saw this with the Democrats actually to a minute degree in 2016. Bernie Sanders was the only real challenger. Everyone was scared to run. The others were drowned out. There was a time at which Bernie looked briefly like he was viable. He did manage to win Vermont anyway, and that was it. In 2016 with the Republicans, over and over again. Once Trump rises up, he's the only one who stabilizes at the top. What happened? Over and over, you have the loop-de-loop, candidate after candidate getting solidified power behind them by uniparty investors and getting that anti-Trump attention, but it gets smaller over time. Trump slowly grows his lead, and the rest is history. In 2020, a number of the Dem also-rans, of course, you'll remember, up and down, the same pattern. It's more blunted right now because Trump has technical incumbency. He's been a president of the United States before. He already has on-the-job experience. He's got a record to run on. Take it or leave it, effectively. So you're seeing a blunting of that basic impact. Nobody can rise up as far as they did before, except for DeSantis, who has had his head shoved down, ironically by forces totally beyond his control, namely the uniparty trying to indict Trump out of the way because they're afraid of him. It didn't look good, his response to the indictment, attempting to make a jab at Trump, at that particular time rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and it was that sunk his campaign. Nikki Haley will also be sunk. I know the uniparty wishes that she could be a president so that they could start World War III. I just don't think that the GOP voters, having had a taste of MAGA and understanding the MAGA economic policies and diplomatic policies and certainly the border policies were simply superior to what you're being offered in general by the rest of the GOP field. They're certainly superior to Bidenomics and Bidenism in general. I don't think you're going to be able to sell them a pig-in-a-poke neocon. Like if Trump were to croak today, I'd just call the election for Joe Biden. Because part of MAGA won't solidify. I mean, parts of it aren't even GOP. There are people who will definitely vote for Trump if he's nominated, but they're not Republicans. I'm one of these people. I vote for Trump in spite of some of the Jesus stuff he occasionally trots out, because I can see through it. I looked at the economy and the fact that we didn't start any new wars and scaled down the ones that were there, set the stage for leaving Afghanistan, although then the next guy botched it completely. And I say that was a good president. Maybe not the greatest president, but he's certainly better than what we've been working with otherwise. I think he's definitely better than W, isn't he? Better than Obama. I see Obama sometimes gets ranked by people as one of the greatest presidents. I'm like, why? Doesn't even make fucking sense. Meanwhile, Trump is down all the way on the bottom, those same political scientists assure me. So Nikki Haley is having her moment. Let her have her day of fun in the sun because it's basically just 15 minutes of fame mode. That's about all. Peace out.